All right, I'll go ahead and start us with a quick prayer. Father, thank you for gathering this group of people, and we want to lift up this Israel trip to you, ask for you to bless it, and I pray for your provision for everybody who desires to go. If there's anyone here that is hopeful, but they're not quite sure if they could make it yet, God, we pray and we hope your will is to maneuver and orchestrate things where you can provide the means for them to go and visit your land and to see the place where Jesus and the prophets and the apostles walked, and to see Bible stories come to life. Lord, we want to pray against COVID-19, that there would be no interference, no new outbreak, just get rid of this thing, and that the travel restrictions would continue to get easier and easier and easier as we go. Bless this tour and our conversation. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, well, it's good to see you guys. It's a good group of people. By show of hands, how many of you have put in your deposit or you've sent it in? Okay. So in the Israel packet, if you've looked through it, all the information is there. And it's $350 due by the end of July. If they have to cancel, you'll be refunded. Okay, like even if you pay full, and like hypothetically, if it's a week before the trip and there is a weird coronavirus, anything, you'll be fully refunded. So the quicker you guys can turn in those deposits, the easier it is on them for flights, things like that. The more likely you'll sit together. Like if you wait and it's a full flight, there's a chance like you could be separated from your spouse or the person you're traveling with. Because that's just what happens is flights get booked and booked. So try to do that. I remember my first trip to Israel, it was 2007. It radically changed my life. I've never looked at the Bible the same. It made me a much better Bible teacher, I feel, too. It's just the experience of experiences. It is information and sensory overload. It's like, when you're just like high on the Spirit, it's like that over and over and over again. We see so many places, and we're at a place for maybe a half an hour, and it might be like this spot where you're like, no, we can't leave yet. Really? We have to leave? I could just stay here all day. And then you get to the next stop and it happens all over again. Like, oh my gosh, this is where this happened. It's absolutely incredible. So here's just a few things to start off. Getting to and from the airport, we fly out at LAX. We'll try to get volunteer drivers first, like anyone who has a Suburban or a big van. We'll try to do it that way. And then, oftentimes, we'll rent as many buses as we need to. We'll get some drivers for that. So, as it approaches, I'll call and see if anyone wants to be able to do that. It's never been an issue getting to and from. We'll have a specific time where we probably meet here in the parking lot, and we'll head over together. And then, if you have your own ride or whatever, you just let me know. The flight, I've done both direct and with a layover. The direct it was crazy. We flew over Seattle and over the Polar Cap. That was the shortest distance. And I prefer the layover. Usually I don't know for sure, but usually it's been Delta, a stop in JFK. And I love the short, it's about probably an hour and a half layover, because you just get to stretch your feet. And it's the same plane. So it's not like you have to go to a different terminal. You just get off. I think there's like a Shake Shack right there. I usually walk to the Dunkin' Donuts. It's not as special now because we have them in California, but I remember 10 years ago, I'd be like, I'm getting Dunkin' Donut coffee. I prefer the stop because it's probably a total of 15 hours flight time, and to have the 5 to 6 hour flight and to walk around and then go again is a good thing. The planes are huge, and on these international trips, it's pretty kosher to get up and walk around. And you'll find right when you get on that plane from JFK to Tel Aviv, you step into another world, because you will see religious Jews putting on a show with their prayer shawl, like praying, hoping all the Gentiles watch them. It's quite a spectacle. They're not afraid to walk around, and like you'll see people doing laps. Like people will just get up and walk, and a lot of times I'll read and I'll just find a little place to lean up against, and I'll just stand up for an hour. Step on my tippy toes, because sitting that long is a long time. Of course, it has all the things you need: a charger, free movies, all that kind of stuff. It's the biggest, baddest Delta plane, that you could fly on. Israel profiles, and they are not afraid to do it. So coming into the airport, even in LA, like if any of you have any Arabic heritage, I would count on Israel officials pulling you aside and questioning you and maybe keeping you for a little bit before the flight. That's what they do, and they protect their borders. They probably have the safest borders, and in the airport and out of the airport, they mean business, and so they'll probably anytime they could stop and ask you a question, open your bags. They're very friendly. They just they know they're hated by their enemies, so they take all necessary precautions. You know what I mean? They have lifted their COVID vaccination mandates. They've lifted the mandate to provide a negative test, which is awesome. Also, the price of $3,700 is if you have a roommate. So if you don't have a roommate, it'll be extra, because it's for Israel, they're trying to make money, and so to give a room with double occupancy, a single person, it will be a little bit extra. And if you don't have a roommate yet, in my 7 times of going, I've always seen someone say, "Hey, I don't have a roommate yet," and we just pray about it. I've always seen God provide every time, and I've even seen like 2 strangers come together, and by the end they're like super best friends. So I'm confident the Lord can provide that. I even had one experience where there were 3 people in a family, and they just got an extra bed and they accommodated that. So there were 3 guys in a room. We will have the same bus once we get there, and they're very nice buses. They're usually like 2 kind of like individual chairs that you sit on. And there's an overhead bin, so you can kind of keep your stuff. I usually keep my hoodie there, and maybe my umbrella. You just can kind of keep it there at all times, so you don't have to drag stuff in and out. Bottled water is always provided. Usually, right when you walk in, there's like a cooler built into the bus, and you just grab a water at any time. And the tap water is great to drink, safe to drink in Israel. So you can always just fill up your water bottle with your tap water, whatever. It's good to drink. For money, most places you go to, like you'll see like, okay, this is a first world country. In fact, I've never been to a foreign country that feels more like America than Israel. It's just, you get there and it's like, this is familiar. Capitalism, democracy, for the most part, conservative values, husbands and wives, you see all that there. And you go to a place and it's like, okay, this is a nice, normal chain, I can use my card. If you do need to call your credit card company and let them know you'll be in Israel, because they have theft protection. So you might try to buy something and they block it because they think, maybe your information was stolen. So you want to call your credit card company and let them know, hey, I'm going to be here and I'm authorizing that this can be used. Same with your, it depends on your phone provider. You might want to call and tell them you'll be there. Travel rates have gotten so much better with your phones. I don't think you even have to buy a package anymore. Like you used to be like, okay, I'm going to buy 250 whatever for $60, and then you're having to count your phone and be like, I only have 10. I got to turn my phone off. It's not like that anymore. It's usually like a small daily charge or something like that. There are places, though, where you might not want to use your card. Bring U.S. dollars because they love the U.S. dollar, okay? But your change will be given back in shekels. So bring tons of $1 bills and $5 bills. Because if something costs 7 shekels and you only have a $10 bill, they give you 3 U.S. dollars worth of shekels, and you're like, what am I going to do with this, But if you can give the exact, so I usually bring about $100 worth of $1 bills. And I bring tons of 5s. If you know you're going to buy some souvenirs, bring some 10s, bring some 20s if you're going to make a big purchase. But a lot of times you can just pay the exact amount, and that's the very, very best way to do it. Everything in this price is included except when you're out touring in the middle of the day. And so that's lunch. We always stop for lunch if you're hungry. A falafel or a schnitzel and a Coke or a drink will be probably $8 to $9 US dollars, something like that. If you want to buy coffee, any souvenirs, out in the middle of the day, that's the only thing you're going to be paying for. Weather. It's just like San Diego and to about Escondido inland. So think of San Diego in the winter, which the weather ranges, throughout the day. Here it ranges. So it'll be comfortable. It'll be like mid-70s typically. The high would be mid-70s. If we get to 80, it's like that's right. That's a warm one. So expect mid 60s to 70, probably be the average. But in the evening, just like here, it could drop in like the high 40s. So you want to dress in layers. There's going to be days where you will be so comfortable in just a t-shirt. But 3 hours later, you'll want to put on a hoodie. And then I always bring a light rain jacket just in case. It's rare, but we might get a day or two of some sprinkles. You never know. So it's nice to not get poured on. Comfortable walking shoes. We're going to be walking. And leading up to the trip, I highly, highly encourage you to start walking a few miles per day. And you walk a lot, but you don't realize it because you're in the sight and you're just enjoying everything. It's not like you're setting off on a walk. And for people who don't want to climb stairs or something, there's always an opt-out. Like here, I like to walk and I like to be in nature. And a lot of these sites are out in nature. So the Mount of Beatitudes, where Jesus gave the Sermon on the Mount, there's this dirt road, and I have the bus drop us off at the top of the hill, and we just walk down. And it's an easy grade down. And you're just looking at the Sea of Galilee, and it's beautiful. We just walk to the bottom of the hill. There's Ahaz's tunnel, has a lot of steps up, but you can opt out of these things. In Getty is an average hike back to the waterfalls. We walk down the Mount of Olives, like we're on the Palm Sunday way, the route Jesus took when he rode on the donkey. We walk from the top of the hill down to the Garden of Gethsemane. But if your knee or your leg's bothering you, you can always say like, hey, I'm going to stay on the bus, and the bus driver will drop me off at the bottom down here. There's options for that. But it's definitely a walking tour. But I don't, there's nothing like uphill that's like, okay, you got to do this, push through. I do like to go into the tunnels underneath Jerusalem. We'll start at David's palace on Mount Ophel, and we walk down to the pool of Siloam. But we do the Canaanite tunnels. You know when David, like he conquered the Jebusite city by crawling, like you're going through these tunnels, and they're like 3,000-year-old tunnels, and so you're walking underneath the city, and it's awesome. It's downhill though. I try to do most of the walking, like I keep in mind for people what we do, and I've never had someone be like, "Oh, this was like too hard." It's just everyone's having a great time with it, you know. But if you're not used to walking, I get yourself ready so that you're, in good enough shape to be able to do a few miles a day. Some you won't. Some you just get off and there's hardly any walking. Like around Jerusalem, to see everything, you got to walk through the city, you know, because it wasn't built with cars in mind to drive through it, you know. For electrical adapters, Israel uses 220 volts, and so you'll want to buy an adapter so you don't like blow your phone up, like bzz, and you just zap it. Make sure you get the adapter. And then for shopping, we'll have designated places with opportunities. The fan favorite is always in downtown Jerusalem. There's a place where we stop. And we stop right outside of one of the main gates, the Jaffa Gate. And to the left, there's like a brand new mall with like all the new shops you could ever want. But you go through the Jaffa Gate and it's the old world. And you just go down this corridor, man. And if you've ever bargain shopped in Mexico or somewhere like that, they will definitely try to rip you off. And you just got to bargain. Like, don't take the first price. Don't get suckered into it. But it's kind of fun, you know, just to see they have unique patterns in their blankets and all sorts of souvenirs that they got there. It's pretty fun. Earpieces. So when we go around, in some of the places it's loud, there's hustling and bustling, and we might have a teaching and there's a bunch of people walking by. I like to get these earpieces. So I have this like wraparound microphone that just comes up, and so I can be hands-free. It wraps around my neck. And so you can be like, 15 yards away, and I don't have to yell for you to hear me. And so it's a little, piece that you like clip, or, I put it in my pocket. And it comes with this earpiece that fits over your ear, but I always thought it was kind of uncomfortable. So I'd recommend you to bring some little earbuds with the round plug-in. That's old school. You might got to order it, or maybe you have one from when you bought your iPhone like 10 years ago. But it uses the round plug-in. And I just find like that's just so much more. Maybe the shape of my ear is weird. I don't know. But I would recommend that. So I'll just go through this packing list real quick. Bible, passport, backpack when you're going around, you want that. A small to medium-sized notebook, a pen and a highlighter. I'm telling you, it is information overload. And you're going to take so many pictures that by like day 10, you're going to look back and be like, I don't remember where that was. And some of you take like a picture of the same thing 30 times. And so it gets lost. And so what I did my first time, and it helped me so much, is I wrote in a notebook like the places that I went here first, and then I know, okay, these pictures belong to this day in order, and I just kind of kept track of it, and it really helps by the end of the trip, because there are a lot of things that you see, and I'm going to give teachings at most of the sites that we go to. Ike, the Israeli guide, is also very, very informative. He's got some wonderful things to say and teach us, especially about Jewish culture. It's really eye-opening. And so, you might want to take notes, or just the Bible passages that correlate to the place we're at, whatever. Cash, I covered that. Sunglasses, sun cream, chapstick, a hat, towelettes, hand sanitizer. In your checked bag, You can bring candy snacks, make sure it's unopened, but, then you have it for the bus in the middle of the day, your trail mix or your jerky or whatever. Don't bring it in your carry-on, but your check-in. It's nice to have. Umbrella, rain jacket. If you have prescription medicines, bring them in the original container. You can bring some small Ziploc baggies. If you like when we go to the Valley of Elah, and where David grabbed the stones to slay Goliath, a lot of people like to grab a rock, from the same stream bed. So it's just a little baggie that you can put stuff in if you collect stuff. I mean, here in America, I lived in Utah for some time and Wyoming, and there's all these old Indian camps, where you can go out and look for arrowheads. And as a kid, we would go and find arrowheads and little tools, and the government says you're not supposed to pick those things up. You're supposed to leave them there. And we're kids, so we never did. But in Israel, they're take whatever you want, because our archaeologists have already went through. And so you'll find a little piece of pottery that has a design on it, and you're thinking, okay, American Indians in America did this 150, 200 years ago. This was 3,000 years ago. Someone painted this. And it's just sitting there for the taking, And some people like to grab stuff like that. It's pretty cool. Shampoo, conditioner. A swimsuit if you want to be baptized in the Jordan. Okay, so there's a very powerful day. It's the Jesus Day, where we go all the way around the Sea of Galilee, and all those rich gospel stories come to light. At the end of the day, we go to Yardenit, which Pastor Chuck Smith invested lots of money into. There's actually, they really appreciate Pastor Chuck because he really loved the idea of people getting baptized in the Jordan River. And so you'll have a chance to do that, and to float in the Dead Sea, which is an amazing experience. There's nothing like it, to just get in this water and to just bounce to the top of it. It's pretty cool. Clothing that you can layer, reliable walking shoes. Tip for dudes, bring 2 pairs of walking shoes, because you're hiking in those same shoes every day. And if you, sometimes alternating, you let one pair breathe. And you put the other pair on, What's the gold I don't know, this talcum powder in the shoes. It's a nice thing. Your adapter, headphones with the round plug-in. Also, at the bottom of this page, I highly recommend you order a book from Amazon called The Holy Land from White Star Guides. There's other good ones. I really like this one. If you want to get familiar with some of the sites before you go, it has color pictures. And after you come home, if you ever want to reminisce, you can kind of, go back and look at this book. It's nice. Some people don't care and they just want to be surprised. There's others of you and you want to study and you want to know everything there is to know before you get to the place, There's some additional things. And then the last 2 pages are the historical sites that we'll visit and their biblical reference. And they're pretty much in order. So you'll see number 1 is Joppa. So that brings the story of Jonah to light. So we go right to the port where Jonah sailed off on the boat to go to Tarshish. It's also where Peter was on the roof of the house when he had the dream of the animals. And the Lord said, "Rise, Peter, kill and eat." So that's where we start. We actually, because it's a long flight, and a lot of times it's hard for people to sleep, if we get off the airport and go straight to the hotel, you're falling asleep at 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and then you're going to wake up at 1 in the morning and be like, "Oh, great." So we hit the ground running. I don't let you go to sleep like that because it'll help you adjust. So we get off the flight and we go straight to Joppa, and we get the blood pumping and we walk around a little bit, and it's a really beautiful, charming little town now too. And so then we get to the hotel, you eat, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to crash, and hopefully you can. Let's see. Every morning there's a huge buffet-style, think Mediterranean food, minus pork, with a lot of chickpeas, garbanzo beans, lentils, lots of vegetables, lots of fruit. They'll have chicken. They'll have beef. They won't have pork. No bacon. There's a place in Jerusalem it's a pretty good hamburger joint, but there's no cheeseburgers because you can't mix the dairy with the beef. We had a lady one time, I felt bad for her because she went and she got an iced coffee and it had milk in it. And she wanted to go get a hamburger. And right when she walked through the door, all the employees started yelling at her, "Get out, leave!" And she's probably 70, and she's like, "What did I do?" And she had to leave the milk outside. Yeah. So it's so fun. There's so many cultural things that'll be great. You guys have any questions I could try to answer? A total of 15 hours. Yeah, with a stop in between. I don't know yet if we're stopping in JFK. I hope so. Sometimes it's Toronto, but it'll be somewhere on the East Coast. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so they'll provide you a little headset with some batteries, and it's just a little pack, and it has a volume on button and a channel. And so they'll say like, okay, we're on channel 2. And it comes with a little earpiece that it just kind of fits over your ear and you can listen to it. And if you're fine with that, great. But if you have headphones that you want to use instead, make sure it has the round plug-in for that. Yeah. What time do we get up and leave? It depends on the day. Some days we have a lot going on. And so we'll be like, okay, breakfast at 7:30, sometimes breakfast at 8:30. Sometimes it's on the bus at 8, sometimes it's on the bus at 10. It just depends on the day. And we will always inform you of the next day. Like as we get off, we'll help you know, like, okay, this is going to be happening, that's going to be happening. And then, we like to get back to the hotel in the daytime. Sometimes we'll get back at around 4 o'clock. If we have a long day, it might be 6 o'clock, but typically we get back around 4:30. So you can rest, you can take a nap if you want, enjoy dinner, take a taxi if you want to go somewhere, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what the pack says. September? It says September. They're flexible with that, though. They're very flexible with it, actually. Yeah. Dress code, that's a good question. So there are Arabs living in Israel, and they're very nice. I mean, they're the best. They live better than Arabs anywhere else in the Middle East. And, some of their thinking is that American women are more, like they're not as modest. So, you probably already do, but just dress modest. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to wear a tank top, maybe wear a tank top that's like across your shoulder. It's not spaghetti strap, but maybe just a normal tank top, things like that. And the Temple Mount is the biggest thing because there's Israeli police up there, but the Muslims control the Temple Mount. And I don't think can expose your legs that day. You can't wear shorts. So Ike will tell you if there's any, like you have to wear pants this day. You can't pray up there. There was an American woman. It wasn't on my trip, but it was a hot day. It was in the summer. And she sat down on a bench and put her head down, and they thought she was praying, and they kicked her out. Yeah. Don't bring a pocket knife, because if you go through a checkpoint, that it's like, well, you lost your knife, stuff like that. Absolutely, yeah. Can you wear Christian shirts? Everything? Yeah, absolutely, for sure. You're gonna find a range of different kind of Christians when you get there. There's gonna be people wearing robes, pointy hats. There's all sorts of different Christian sects in Jerusalem. Yeah. Luggage. You have one check-in bag, that it can't exceed 50 pounds or you'll be paying extra. Pack lighter than you think you'll need. Try to think about it. Like, I usually think, okay, I'm going to wear the same shirt twice. So I usually pack for half the trip, and then I'll do a load of laundry at the hotel, and then wear the same things again the second half. Stuff like that. You will get a carry-on too, and I would encourage you to bring a backpack instead of a little tiny suitcase, some sort of bag, because you're going to want to walk around with it when you're hiking. Put your water bottles in it and stuff like that. So a check-in bag and a carry-on. Women also, you get a purse. Yeah. Sorry? How do you make payments? So in the packet, it'll tell you the address of where to send. You send it to New Jersey. Coral Tours American offices are in New Jersey. And so you send it by check. If you want to call them and pay with your card over the phone, you can do that too. Huh? It charges you? Yeah. So usually check is how people do it. Yes, on your packet there's travel insurance if you want to get it. Yeah.
These dates that you guys provided, are they going to be the fixed date, or it might change?
These won't change, these dates.
They won't change.
Yeah, it won't change.
Today, 29th, that's the day we're leaving from LA.
Yeah, we're leaving November 29th. We will leave from Ben Gurion Airport December 10th at about 1 or 2 in the morning. So it's our last day. Our last day, it's a powerful day. We visit the Garden Tomb, and we have a late checkout. So we do touring in the day, and then we have a late checkout, and then my friend Shalom always provides a very special farewell dinner. And it's the last time our group is really together. We go to a very nice restaurant. It's usually like maybe kebabs, so all sorts of food. And so we have dinner, and then they take us to the airport that night. And so if we fly out at around 1 or 2 on the 10th, we arrive in LA on the same day, depending, afternoon sometime, Yeah. Yes. No, they only are concerned about your passport. Yep. Yeah.
As far as the walking, is it constant, or are there breaks in between?
There's definitely breaks in between. Yeah, there's driving, so if you always get back in the bus to go to your next site. In Jerusalem, we might walk from site to site, but we always keep in mind, to have the bus there. We don't do unnecessary walking. We do some light, casual nature walking. Yeah. No hard climbing. The hardest thing is probably coming out of King Ahaz's tunnel. Has a lot of steps out of it, but you can still enjoy the teaching at Megiddo, but you can opt out of the hike and go back to the bus and meet us on the other side. Yeah. Yes. For walking shoes, if they're comfortable, if they're tried and true, yeah, a walking sandal that covers up. Yeah, flip-flops, I would not recommend. I would recommend a nice pair of walking shoes, running shoes, hiking shoes, whatever. Yeah.
Do you have a guesstimate on the single, the additional charge?
It says in the packet. Does anyone have that? I don't know what it is. Do it. $865. Yeah. Yes. No, you'll be fine. So you'll travel with us. They might, in LA, they might just say, excuse me, would you come back with us? Some nice Israeli officials. and they might just ask you questions. And then it's like, and if that happens, you won't miss the flight. Unless you're a terrorist. Yeah, yes.
As far as COVID testing, I know that you said that they lifted the restrictions on COVID. Do we have to test to go there? But coming back? I know
Coming back, we may. Yeah. Coming back to the States, I don't think we'll know until then. But Coral Tours is so good to it. They will take care of everything for us. They will never leave us at a place where we're fending for ourselves. They tackle everything. So if we do have to have that, they'll provide those for us. And right before we get on the plane, we'll do that. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah. Yes, there's safes in the hotel rooms.
Does the bus have charging ports, USB ports?
I don't think so. I don't think the bus has a charging port. If you want to bring a portable one, make sure you charge in the beginning, overnight, charge up. The bus driver always stays with the bus. The bus driver doesn't walk out. So if you're concerned about money or your jacket being on the bus, he's always there. So it's never been, I always leave stuff on the bus. Yeah. Yeah. So we will stay overnight in Tel Aviv, right on the ocean the first night. And then we will make our way up to the Galilee, and we'll stay right on the Sea of Galilee, I believe, for 3 nights. And then as we make our way to the southern part of Israel, we stay 1 night on the Dead Sea. And that's where Masada is, the Dead Sea Scrolls you'll see. So we stay there. And then the rest of the night, the majority of the nights at the end are in Jerusalem. Same hotel in Jerusalem. So 1, 2, 4 total hotels. Yeah. Yeah. Petra. Yeah. Not this year. I know. All right, I think we're good. Church starts in 3 minutes, so. It's good talking to you.